I want you to imagine something. For a second, you're back in school. It's a usual Tuesday morning. The teacher walks into the room, and she has a register in her hand. She starts taking the attendance, and as the names go by, people say present. And then your turn comes in. So you stand up, you take a deep breath, but you choke. No sound comes out of your mouth. You try again, this time with more force, with more vigor. Your lips are moving, your jaws are clenching, but still no words form. You're absolutely powerless over here. So you look at the people around you, only to find them looking back at you with extremely weird expressions on their faces. They have no idea why this boy can't say the simple word present. You're stuck in that situation and also in that word. My name is Armaghan Khan, and I've been stuttering for as long as I can remember. And for a minute, you got a glimpse of what it is like to be in my shoes, and also what stuttering actually is. Stuttering is a speech disorder. It's when the flow of speech is interrupted by involuntary interruptions or prolongations of words. But now as I speak, you may wonder, why is this boy not stuttering? Where is the choking part over here? But before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question. How many in this room have picked up words or expressions from their friends or colleagues? Simple words, expressions. Quite a lot. The word I picked up from my friends, actually from a gentleman sitting in this hall right now, is the word cool. Yeah, I know it's pretty outdated. So if you ask me, how's the TED Talk going, Armaghan? I'm gonna say, cool. So if you ask me, do you wanna go for gelato sometime? I'll say, cool. If you ask me, how's the weather in Abu Dhabi? I'd say, not so cool. But see, this education that you get, this absorbance of words or phrases, it's very unconscious. You don't consciously think about it, you just absorb them. But these things are minor. What I want to tell you is that you can also pick up significant things from your friends or colleagues. You can pick up things which have more substance. And that's exactly what I did with theater. Now before I mention theater, I want to clarify a few assumptions. People say, so he stutters. He probably didn't have confidence, and he worked on it, and then he overcame his stutter. Not exactly. Or they say, he probably practiced a lot, rehearsing, blah, blah. So he practiced, he overcame his stutter, and now he can speak fluently. But that's not the case either. What I actually did was use the method of acting. Acting itself is very methodical. It's not just getting on stage, saying a few words, screaming or crying. It's about taking a seat and observing things. The 3 steps to acting are observation, conscious selection, and replication. And they should be divided. The time you put into them should be divided like this. The most should go to observation. The second should be conscious selection. The third should be replication. And that's where people go wrong. They skip the first 2 and they directly jump to the third. I did this through observing people. So what I observed was, when you want to play a character, you look at that character. You want to look at how they walk. How much do they lift up their feet when they're walking? Or when they're talking, what is their tone like? Do they have a deep voice or do they have a squeaky voice? You want to look at all these details and gather all this information, because this information is going to be the basis for the next step, which is conscious selection. This is where you choose characteristics or traits which you want to embody in your character. So if you want your character to be friendly, you'll probably go with the squeaky voice or the fact that they're really energetic rather than the deep, intimidating deep voice. or the heavy walk. So the formula you're going to see next is the formula I used in acting to get the roles I really wanted to do. But this formula can also be used off stage, and that's when I use them on the people around me. So the first people around me were actors, producers, and my theater coach. So I used it on my theater coach. I realized how he had to pick up his pants every now and then because the belt buckle was loose, or how he fixed his hat. But I also noticed a very important thing, that he stuttered. Yes, a person who had been teaching me acting for 4 years had a stutter, and I did not realize it all this time. Not one single clue. So I took a step back. I was excited because if he can hide it or he can overcome it, that means so can I. So I began learning from him. What does he do? I started observing him. I started using the formula you are looking at right now. I observed him. He was a very calm man, a lot of composure. This man could not be fazed by anything. He would still talk to you very normally, even if you told him something really exciting. He used to speak very slowly. He would always let other people continue their sentences or finish their sentences and then talk. And when he did talk, he talked very slowly. He never had his mouth open when he was thinking. Now this part is very important because your mouth needs to be in sync with your brain. It needs to come after your brain has done the thinking process, and then you speak. So I picked up on these things, I observed these things, then I consciously selected these things, and I tried to incorporate them into myself. That's the reason why the boy I made you imagine stuttered a lot, and the boy you're looking at right now is not. But this process of learning doesn't finish over here. I used it elsewhere. I wanted to become a better listener. So I looked at my college counselor. Now this man, he listens to you. He would not look at his phone when he's talking to you. He wouldn't look at his laptop. He would give you his 100%. And that is when he asks you questions. He asks you a lot of great questions. Not just questions about yes or no. He would ask you things which makes you clarify your point or articulate your point better so he can understand it better, and so can you. The third thing he used to do was mimic my emotions. So if I'm telling him something and I'm really excited, he would give me an approving smile. And if I'm telling him something and I'm really upset, he'd giving me an appreciative nod. You need to mimic the other person's emotions to make them feel part of the conversation, and then they'll share more. I try to incorporate this into my listening, and I think I'm a great listener. My friends could tell better, but yeah. But at this point, I want you to imagine, I want you to realize that if you lack in something, if you think you don't make good decisions, find people who are decisive, observe them, learn from them. If you're not good at time management, try to look at people who do manage their time well. Try to learn their habits. Now, before I leave this stage today, I want you to take a step back, reflect on who you are as a person right now, and then think about the person you want to become. Think of the traits this person has, the one you have to become. Find these traits in the people around you. Look for them in your friends, colleagues, parents, because there's a lot of knowledge surrounding you, and all you have to do to gain that knowledge is look around. Thank you.